Before the story goes anywhere, before a single judgment forms in your mind, pause for just one moment. If you've ever sat in a room full of people and still felt invisible, if you've ever doubted your own thoughts because they scared you, if you believe that some stories aren't told to justify behavior, but to understand how people lose themselves, then subscribe to this channel. Because this is not entertainment. This is not drama. This is a confession. And once you hear it, you don't get to unhear it. They never warn you about the dangerous moments in life. They don't arrive loudly. They don't knock. They don't announce themselves as mistakes. They come quietly, wrapped in routine, disguised as kindness, hidden inside moments that feel harmless. And by the time you realize something has shifted, you can't remember where the line was, only that you're standing on the wrong side of it. I never thought I would be telling a story like this. Not with this voice. Not with this weight sitting in my chest. Not with the kind of honesty that makes your hands feel cold even when you're alone. 2 years have passed since it began. And yet somehow I feel older than my own reflection. Like time didn't move forward, it folded inward, as if every day since then has been carrying the echo of something I never meant to hear. What's strange is how small it all started. So small that even now, saying it out loud feels almost embarrassing. A sore muscle, a casual request, a moment meant to help. That's how these stories always begin, isn't it? Not with desire, not with intention, but with vulnerability. The cruelest kind of loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being unnoticed, from sharing a bed with someone who no longer reaches for you, from speaking and realizing your words don't land anywhere, from smiling out of habit, because silence has become easier than disappointment. I had been married for 12 years. 12 years of shared meals, shared bills, shared last names. And somewhere along the way, we stopped sharing ourselves. It didn't happen all at once. There was no argument that broke us, no betrayal that made headlines in our lives. It happened quietly. First, he stopped asking how my day was. Then, he stopped listening when I answered anyway. Then, without ever saying it out loud, he stopped seeing me. He was always tired, always working, always mentally somewhere else, focused on something that mattered more than whatever I was feeling. And I told myself that this was normal, that marriages settle, that passion fades, that wanting more was childish, unrealistic, selfish. So I adjusted. I became efficient, predictable, useful. I cooked without being asked. I cleaned without complaint. I kept the house running like a well-oiled machine. And inside that quiet efficiency, I slowly disappeared. Ethan had been part of my life since he was 11, my husband's son from his first marriage. Back then, he was all sharp elbows and hesitation. A quiet child who observed more than he spoke, the kind of kid who learned early how to stay out of the way. I made a point to be present for him, not out of obligation, but because I remembered what it felt like to be overlooked. Years passed. He grew taller, stronger, more sure of himself. But what surprised me wasn't how much he changed physically. It was how much he noticed small things, the kind most people miss. The pause before I answered certain questions. The way I retied my hair when I was anxious. How I lingered at the sink late at night pretending to clean dishes that were already spotless. He never commented on it, never pointed it out, never made it awkward. He just noticed. And when you've gone unseen for long enough, being noticed doesn't feel like temptation. It feels like relief. The day everything shifted didn't feel dramatic. There was no music, no warning, no sense that this moment would matter later. He came home from soccer practice, wincing slightly, trying to hide it. Just a small twist, he said. Nothing serious. He asked if we had anything for the pain. So, I did what any caregiver would do. I offered help. I grabbed the lotion. I told him to sit down. There was nothing inappropriate in the gesture, nothing planned, nothing intentional. But when my hands rested on his shoulders, something inside me hesitated. Not because it felt wrong, but because it felt human. Warmth, presence, connection, things I hadn't felt in years. And that terrified me. He turned his head slightly, not fully, just enough to glance back. And in a voice so quiet it barely existed, he said something that froze the room. I wish you were mine. Time didn't slow down. It stopped. Every rational thought scattered. Every rule I had lived by suddenly felt fragile. I didn't respond. I couldn't, because in that moment, I wasn't confronting him. I was confronting myself, the part of me that felt seen, the part of me that felt chosen, the part of me that realized just how starved I had been. And the scariest truth of all, it wasn't how wrong the moment felt. It was how natural the feeling arrived. That night didn't end with a decision. It ended with silence. But silence, once broken, never returns the same. Because from that moment on, everything carried weight. Every look, every pause, every shared space. And the line I thought I understood so well had already begun to blur.